All right, everybody, welcome back into Cherry Picking. Today's video, we're going to be looking at the Stars and Golden Knights Western Conference Finals. Got Gav here to join me today. Vegas didn't really, I guess neither of these teams technically squeaked by their opponents in the last round. You know, Vegas ended up cleaned up Edmonton pretty nicely after they were minus 150 to win that series. So Vegas continues, I think, to be undervalued. And finally, I think this series, you know, they're listed at minus 135. So I think that the sports books have it right, and the home ice advantage probably has a factor to do with that as well.
Yeah, for sure. The Edmonton series, like, it really came down to goaltending. 5-on-5, they were pretty good. And then Skinner just really couldn't make a save. And I was saying to you before the show that, you know, Vegas has kind of had a pretty good run in terms of matchups. Looking at maybe Hellebuck on paper, you'd think, hey, it was a good goalie they went against, but Hellebuck did not play well at all, and that's a huge reason why that series only went 5 games. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Audie performs in this series, because he hasn't really been great overall. So I'm wondering if they get kind of lucky again and just take advantage of a goalie that is really struggling to save high danger opportunities.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about this before, like looking at Ottinger's numbers, even compared to Adin Hill. Like I was looking at kind of Laurent Brossois' numbers before or kind of after he got hurt. I was like, I don't think Hill's going to be able to put up the same kind of numbers, because he was playing pretty well. He had a really solid high danger save percentage. So playing teams like Edmonton, and who'd they play in the first round again, Vegas? Winnipeg. Yeah. 2 teams that can really have, like, who can score a lot. So he was playing well there. And then Adin Hill, looking at his high danger save percentage in those few games he played, was at 900. And then Audie's is like 750, which is the worst amongst the remaining goalies right now.
Yep.
Adin Hill is that number is 3rd best right now in the NHL or in the playoffs. So I think only Bobrovsky might have a little bit of a higher number. And then Adin Hill's goal saved above expected is almost 6. Ottinger's is in the negative. So do you kind of look at this like, okay, we can kind of expect Jake Ottinger to bounce back here and play at the elite level we've seen him play in the playoffs before? Or is it like, okay, Vegas, like you mentioned, Vegas is going to get another like easy task here, or easy goalie to go against, and maybe even win this game and win this series in 5 or 6 games?
Yeah, honestly, it's really hard to say. Like, the one thing that you can look at is looking at Ottinger's numbers after a loss, and I think that'll be huge. Like, he's bounced back nearly every game. He was decent in the Minnesota series, but he really wasn't great at all against Seattle. I think that's really the only reason that went 7. I do think it's a bit concerning, but I am banking on the fact that he does rebound well after a loss. So I think the outcome of the series could kind of really depend on who wins game 1. I think that'd be huge for the Stars, because it's kind of like Vasilevsky. Like, you couldn't beat him twice in a row. And if Audie does that, I think they can come out of this series on top.
Yeah, and Vegas, to note one thing, one of the better road teams throughout the playoffs so far. I think they've only lost 1 road game this season, which is pretty crazy, playing in the Winnipeg and Edmonton atmospheres. Those are pretty big, obviously. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see kind of how Ottinger deals with this Vegas team. And looking at kind of these 2 teams, apart from their goaltenders, if this is like a special teams battle, do you think Vegas can compete with Dallas? Because we look at the numbers. I was looking at the numbers before. Vegas has taken the most penalties per game, but they also draw a lot of penalties as well. I saw against that in that Edmonton and Winnipeg series. Yeah. But in the Stars, don't take a ton of penalties. They draw a decent amount of penalties, and their power play is the best remaining one in the NHL. I think they're hitting at a 31% clip this playoff. So if it ends up being a special teams battle, and we've seen a lot of these games be ref shows or just a lot of penalties being taken, do you think Dallas is that the way Dallas can kind of see a path to the Stanley Cup Final?
I do think it is important, but really they didn't win the special teams battle against Edmonton. I didn't even really bother looking at Vegas' penalty kill percentage, because going against the Oilers, like, it's just no one can stop that power play. Like, the Oilers were operating at a 60% click, but Vegas' power play wasn't really that good, and they got the job done at 5-on-5. They're converting on their high danger chances. So special teams could be a factor, especially when you look at the total for game 1. I think it's 5.5. So the books are anticipating low scoring games. I know they anticipated that in the Kraken Star series, and every game went over except for game 7. But I just think the general feel, it's going to be a bit tighter, and it probably will come a bit more down to those special teams opportunities. The Oilers team, like, is just not the same as the Stars, right? Like, the Stars, I think, are much better at 5-on-5, and I think it will come down to that edge. You can't judge Vegas' penalty kill off going against that Oilers team.
That's a good point. It's definitely skewed, because, I mean, that power play, you can't have a good penalty kill against
no one's been able to do it.
Those casts. So That is a good point to note. I think the Stars team is a little bit deeper than Edmonton, looking at like their top 4 lines, even their defensive core as well. Just 5-on-5 hockey. I think the Stars team's kind of built better for the playoffs than that Edmonton team. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how they match up in 5-on-5. Looking at the odds, so I mentioned the Knights favored between -135 and -145. Then the Stars at +115. All these odds are on DraftKings. So you haven't signed up there. If you bet $5 on this series or any game in the series, you can get $150 in bonus bets. So a really good promo going on right there. So looking at the odds right now, if you had to pick a side, are you leaning on the Stars? You're going to bank on the fact that Andre is going to play solid and that the Stars can kind of get this done on the power play?
So something just came into my mind. It's kind of crazy. So I don't see this game finishing any shorter than 6 or 7 games. So I'll definitely be taking that. I'll sprinkle both 6 and 7. Okay. And then coming back to my point about saying Audi isn't losing 2 in a row. If they split, if they win game 1 and then lose game 2, I'll live bet the Stars to win the series.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting thought there. I like that. I kind of agree with you there. I want to take the Stars, but it does give me, like, I kind of see what you're doing there, because you're kind of waiting to see if you have 2 games under Jay Ottinger's belt in this series, you can kind of judge, like, okay, is he past the point of where his high danger save percentage is the worst amongst these goalies, or is he actually playing to the level we've seen him play in the regular season and after a loss and all those good things. So I agree. I'm going to take the games 6 and 7. I think they're both like +200, +210. So if you split like a unit on both of those, and it goes to 6 or 7 games, you'll be profitable there. Are there any player props you're looking at yet in this one? Have you looked at those markets? DraftKings does offer that, and even if you don't have the odds, is there someone that you're looking at to have a lot of goals or points in this series? Someone that you can rely on?
I'm not totally set on one. I don't know if I'm going to lock it in yet. I think like a clear answer is like Rupe. He's been unbelievable in the playoffs right now. He can kill penalties. He's pretty much doing it all. So I like that. I think he's around like +550. And then another sneaky guy, like if you want to look at Vegas' end of things and you really think they're going to win the series, like I think Eichel, obviously, like top player, obvious bet. Maybe even like Chandler Stevenson. He's been sneaky good. He played a really big role in the Oilers series, so I think he's another good guy to look at.
Yeah, I like both those picks. For most goals, I kind of looked into this market a little bit deeper than the Carolina Panthers series. And I kind of like Sege to finish with the most goals at 12-1. I don't think it's that crazy to say. Like this, he's been having, him and Ben have the fountain of youth this year. They've both played really solid hockey. I think it's why the Stars are at this point, because they're relying so much on that one line last year. Now you're seeing Sege and Ben being able to, take over the second and third line and be able to contribute on the offensive end in that sense. And then on the power play too, he has the highest expected goals for remaining amongst all players on the power play right now. And he's producing a lot of scoring chances, 11 high danger scoring chances on the power play. And then even 5-on-5, he's contributing as well, 9th in expected goals for this playoffs. And then Marchessault as well. Like he had so many goals in that. He had a hat trick in game 6.
Natural Hattie.
He had a hat trick in game 6. He scored in, I want to say, in almost 3 of the 4 other games that they played, or 5 other games. So I like him to lead this series in goals as well, if you want to pick from either side.
I really like that.
I think those are both pretty solid. Any last notes? Is there a sweep going to come at any point of this playoffs, you think? I guess not at this point.
I don't think so.
I guess there was one last year. Edmonton got swept by
Edmonton did
Colorado.
get swept. That was just like no one was stopping the Avs last year.
Yeah.
What do you think, like in terms of a game by game? Like, do you see more overs? We talked about this before. Like, see more overs, unders. I know you're a big under guy with any team involving or any series involving Vegas, which is gone horribly. So are you going to switch up your game?
Him and Vegas and the Stars for sure.
The Stars, both these teams are like the biggest. Sarah's biggest nightmare right now. Like it's like totals. They're just coming together. Totals. Like maybe it actually works out now because it wasn't going well before. But like, how do you see this kind of playing out? Like, is it low event hockey? Is it high paced?
I'm kind of leaning more to the fact that we're going to see more overs here because of, we talked about this in the Seattle and Seattle and Dallas series. We were like, oh look, both of these teams, goalies' high danger save percentage has been bad, and both these teams have been able to convert at a really high rate on high danger scoring chances. Yeah, Vegas is the same thing, and you have Jake Ottinger in the same spot. So maybe I wait and see on game 1, but if you see a lot of goals happening, I might just continue to bet the over. So I'm going to lean over. So at this point, also unders have just been like, I think I've hit 1 out of 12 times.
Yeah,
I've tried to bet this series or this playoff. So why the fuck would I keep trying to do
I think that's a smart point too. Like some people rush right into the series and you don't have to play a side right away.
Yeah.
You can see, you can feel it out, especially going in on a total. You don't really know how they're going to match up. You can look at all the analytics you want, but obviously they're going to make adjustments because every series is different. Like Vegas is not going to be playing Dallas like how they played Edmonton or Winnipeg. It's going to be completely different. And the reason, like in the Stars-Kraken series, I said I could see a lot of overs is because if Seattle tried to sit back and play defensive like Minnesota did against the Stars, they'd be screwed. So they needed to try to like gun at them a bit more, and that's what we saw.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with that fact as well. Should be an interesting series. Excited for this one. Excited for Carolina and Florida to start as well. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Sign up at DraftKings if you haven't yet. They have all of these props and series prices that we were talking about in the show today. And we'll see you guys next time.